This is Kazam from Kazam3D.com, welcoming you to another video. This is an introduction and kind of a tip sheet for the Kokomo Sport Bikini for Genesis 8.X Females. This is your product folder. The easiest way to do this, of course, is just load Kokomo Complete. There are a couple of wearables. This one has the little tabs on it, and the same thing for the top. It's got just a straight, clean mesh version, or it has the one with that little tab at the bottom of the zipper. Those tabs are not a big deal. They don't interfere with anything in terms of simulations or anything like that. And in fact, for the bottoms anyway, I have a little script here that just allows you to toggle their visibility. Again, it does not interfere in any way with the DForce simulation, whether they are hidden or not. So no worries there. At any rate, let's move down to our DForce presets. Speaking of DForce, we have two for the bottoms. There's a default, which is what it loads with. And then we have a snug version that kind of snugs them down into a somewhat of a low rise. Okay. I don't do that with morphs as much anymore as I used to. I usually just rely on DForce now because it just does a better job and it's a lot easier if you can just load those physics and run your simulation and you have a perfectly fitting low-rise bikini bottom. Top default, there's only one. It's the default setting. The nature of this product is that regardless of your character's body morph in the chest area, this is going to work. Now, there are a couple of morphs that go along with both of these, of course. We have our standard, covering the bottoms here. Now we have our standard crotch morphs that if we don't include, customers tend to mention that fact. So it's just something we, just include always now, just to make sure that everyone's nice and happy. And on the top, we have only three morphs. We have a cleavage adjust, which you almost never have to use. Okay, if you're dealing with a let's call it a fantasy character in that area of the body, you may have to dial some of this in. I have never had to use it for Addie, which most of you know if you're familiar with Kazam 3D, is that she's pretty well endowed in that area, and I've never had to use that on any of the testing for her. Cleavage width is a modesty morph. Okay, what it does is just kind of brings that in a little bit. And it's really up to your personal what you want for your character. However, I did want to mention it specifically because you want to wait until after you run a simulation to use your cleavage width. I could go into why, but I'm trying to keep these videos short. Just take my word for it. And if you don't take my word for it, just give it a try and you'll see. Okay. It works just fine. The DForce simulation works just fine, but believe me, the adjustment will work out better if you wait until after the simulation to run that one. Poke through fix. Most of you are familiar with my products now. You realize that poke through fix is exactly what it says. In the event that you have a little bit of poke through somewhere, anywhere on your character after running a simulation, you can just dial your poke through fix up a little bit. Just dial it up a little bit at a time until that poke through goes away, and it will take care of things for you. Now we're going to go to iRay materials. Okay, and for this, of course, we're going to go into iRay preview mode, and you'll see why this character is weird blue looking here in just a moment. I have a little trouble because we do so many. It seems like every time I do a bikini product introduction, the algorithm at YouTube looks at it, wants to immediately throw it into age restricted. And usually once that happens, you can't get them to change it. So I went with this in the hope that that would change things for us, okay? Because I don't really think that these belong in an age restricted, but I understand if they think it does, it's their platform. So I'm going to do the best I can to make it very clear that this is not pornography, okay? This is nothing like that. It's just a bikini, and I need to be able to show a lot of it in iRay so that you get a sense of what it is with the materials and etc. Having said that, black and yellow, that's what this loads at, okay? The next thing you see in this folder are these chest logo settings. We're going to use white lettering, okay? And you've already seen what it is there. Now this has some displacement on it, and that displacement is to give it an embroidered look, okay? So there you go. That's what it looks like. And the black is just black lettering for a lighter colored top, and that's all that is. It loads without it enabled, but if you enable it and then decide you don't want it, very simply click that and it will go away. That is just a displacement thing. That's all that is. And speaking of displacement, there are two other places I want to show you on this product that use displacement. One is the zipper here, as you can see, and that's not a mesh thing, the way those zipper teeth stick up like that. That's just, again, that's just a displacement trick with textures. All right, that only shows up in iRay. Same thing here for this gather. You know how it's kind of popular with bikinis nowadays to have that gather at the back, and that's what this is. Again, it's simply a displacement mat. And if you don't want it, you can turn it off. Make sure your bottoms are selected. Turn it off, okay? And turn it back on if you decide you want to. This seam down the middle here, this crease, disappears when you do, pretty much completely disappears when you do a DForce simulation. I'll find my words here in a moment. All right, so that covers the special stuff. Other than that, we just have some color combinations here. Okay, this one is wild sherbet, and then there's just white. There's matching for the top and bottom, but of course you mix and match them however you want. I kind of like this Nemo one. I'm going to go ahead and load this. Again, I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible. I think this is my fourth or fifth attempt now, and I keep letting them run too long. The shortest I've been able to manage is 15 minutes. I'm trying to keep it down between 5 and 10. Otherwise, you just hear me blathering, like I'm starting to do now. There is Nemo, okay? So let's go into a simulation. I want to show you about our DForce, our philosophy behind DForce, what we use it for, and why. This is, let me get back to texture shaded, this is a matter of simply making sure that the bikini, in this case, fits properly. Most of our clothing products, and most parts of them, are a little snug fitting. And DForce plays just as important a role in that as it does into, in the flowing gown sort of thing. We use this to make sure that the garment fits realistically and in a way that's easy for you to accomplish. So rather than using a lot of morphs, for instance, to this area here between the abdomen and the point of the hip, I'm sure you've seen a lot of products where that bows in because it's, the transfer utility has drawn it into the pelvis bone there. What DForce does for us is makes absolutely certain that that won't happen, okay? And let me show you how easy that is. We're just going to run a simulation here in the A pose because that's perfectly sufficient to show what we're talking about here. And there you go. You see the way the top pops down onto the surface of the character. Everything is straightened and looking the way it should. And the same thing will be true of the bottoms. Okay. So this is just stabilizing. It works just as well from a pose position. Okay. And of course, in fact, you're going to have to do that. And I put a lot of time and effort into making sure that that is the case, that it works correctly when we do that. And if you look there, you can see that's exactly right. You can see the area here above the breasts right there. Just runs a straight taut line the way it should. It doesn't bow in. It doesn't do anything weird like that. Same thing with the bottoms. You can see that runs straight across the front, crests there at the abdomen, and then proceeds directly to the other point of the hip there without bowing in. See that? That's realistic. That's the way it should look. Same thing for the back in the center. And you can see that. So there we go. That is the Kokomo Sport Bikini for Genesis 8 and Genesis 8.1 Females. Let me go ahead and put this into IRA preview mode so that you can get a nice last look at it. And of course, you can see it in the product gallery at cosm3d.com. Let me poke that up here right now so you can see cosm3d.com. Right now, we're having a 50% off entire store, grand reopening. That's going to go through May 15th, okay? And I don't know, maybe we'll extend it or something. I don't know. We've just been able to reopen the store, so getting the word out. It takes people a while to get there, and I'd hate to have them feel left out. We'll probably run another sale here before too long. I can't say exactly when, but we'll always, we'll always try to make sure that there are some good deals for you out there. Here's the Kokomo right here. Not all of our products are yet up on the site. What I wanted to do was make sure that we had the most popular ones from the last year or so up here. And so that's what these are. And we will be adding more products to the site as we go along. So never worry, they're all going to be up there. And hopefully you will come and take a visit and take a look at what we have. If you don't have any of our products yet, you give it a try. Now's the time to do it at 50% off. You can try, especially if you like swimsuits for Genesis. That's really kind of our specialty. Okay, it's what we're known for, and it's what we enjoy releasing the most. Although we release a lot of other kinds of clothing products as well, our main emphasis is on swimwear. We just seem to have a good connection with our customer base where those items are concerned. Until the next time, this is Cosam from cosm3d.com wishing you happy rendering.